Good afternoon, family and friends, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and on my program called Rise. I'm Renette Marburg, and we have got a very wonderful, interesting guest in our studio today, a film producer of Phoenix Risen, and he is going to be sharing with us his life journey until this far. He's been many, many years in the media ministry. I call it ministry as well because it really is a ministry that you have to be called for to be able to persevere. It's a really challenging industry as well to stay in. So, Henry, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And we know that your heart's desires are to really expose what is happening as far as human trafficking is concerned. So just give us a little bit of your background, where you've been, how did you get into this media? I want people to be also feel encouraged that there is a future in South Africa for the media industry as well. So Henry, just share with us until this far.
Well, my journey has been, it doesn't have a start or a beginning. I feel like it's constantly been in this direction. As a child, I grew up, I had some really good adult influences. You know, the absent father is the beginning of a lot of the sadness that we're dealing with right now. Absent fathers leave the door open for others to influence our youth, give us short-term pleasure, short-term fixes for life skills. I was blessed with parents who loved reading. And, you know, that was my first experience in entertaining and creating, having to picture what I was reading. And slowly but surely, the visuals were what drew me in. The words shaped my eyes closed, and I was able to formulate the pictures. A rushing wind, you can't see the wind, but you can imagine it on leaves and trees. And so slowly but surely, my mind started becoming that of a picture maker. I had some interesting books as a youngster. One of the big books, I didn't know it was big at the time, was a book written in 1678 by a John Bunyan called...
I remember.
You do?
Yes, it was in our era. It was a really good book to read.
Really, really good.
Yes, especially visually. It had the most incredible descriptions in the book.
Correct. And also really good parallels with what we face in life.
Yes.
Insecurities, and the need to excel, and the easy options that we are presented with, how we can get to our dreams, not always the righteous way, how the soft options are easiest, and how difficult it is
Yes.
to achieve things in the correct way. And the correct way, when I say correct way, I mean the way that makes you able to sleep at night. The way...
The right way and the righteous way.
I believe so, yes.
And that takes a lot with society today to stay on the straight and narrow. And, you know, we find that we get so easily distracted, so much is so normalized, especially on media. And we get told what is, you know, what's not right, but it gets right because it's legal. And, you know, so your journey as far as, you know, experiencing as a young man, you know, what were the challenges that you actually experienced in your era? You know, us in our era, we aren't exposed to what our young people are exposed to. So for media, how did that change for you over the years?
Well, I grew up in Manenberg. I was born in Woodstock, and at the age of 2, we moved to Manenberg. And as a 2-year-old kid, almost interpreting what the adults were going through, that feeling of lesser human, physically being moved a little further away from the mountain, the psychological impact on the parents, the adults of that time. That was transferred to the youth through frustration, through anger, through bitterness, the sadness of it all. And as a 2-year-old child, interpreting that was wasn't there were no words. It was a crude feeling of sadness, despair, very grey world.
Yes,
And
yes.
so we found comfort in books, we found entertainment, we found hope in the bigger story. Also in that era, many truths were hidden and information wasn't freely exchanged,
That's
hidden in fact.
correct.
So in all of this, I, with everybody else, tried to make sense out of where the world was, where were we in this world, and even though it was 1967, it was a South African version of 1967. The world was moving at other paces all over, and
Yes, and we were stuck, a
we
little
were
bit stuck.
stuck a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I grew up in this environment where the rule was that the toughest would survive. That sometimes you had to step outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes you had to be assertive, almost bullying your way to the top. And so you would compromise what felt right for a result that everyone said was necessary. You needed the car, you needed the flash, you needed all of these. And that's how our progress was judged, how our success was
Yes,
judged.
yes, yes. And that makes so much sense with the growth of gangsterism and drug, industry just growing insurmountably in that time, where that was the only way, more or less, to get money and again, it was a grey area. And you know what you said about the being 2 years old, with us in psychology, um, you know, we between 0 and 7 years old from birth, even in the mommy's womb, that a child can all what is transferred to the child from the parents, knowingly or unknowingly. There's no perfect recipe for parenting, and but at the end of the day, the child doesn't know how to navigate what he sees. The filter is like absorbs everything like a big sponge. So I can understand the sadness that you experienced, but and then again, you found ways to find joy in the day and get navigated. And give us just a scenario of the kind of topic that we're going to cover now today about human trafficking and the different forms of human trafficking. What did you people see in that time? We didn't. I know for a fact didn't know anything about it in I think you and I are more or less the same age. Um, we weren't exposed to that, and I mean, what did you think of life at that time?
Well, life at that time, I didn't really see it either. I could
Mm.
see the effects of people compromising to earn a living. I could
Mm.
see how that played on their minds, how it affected their hearts, and how their relationships were with others. It was easy to tell someone apart, someone who had been victimized into doing what they did to earn money. Later on, of course, I became aware. I think Pastor Edel Naidu, he
Yes.
once said something in one of his shows, and I thought that's exactly what it is. He said, prostitution, human trafficking, is not a pretty woman story. The Julia Roberts, Richard
Yes.
Gere,
Yes.
and
Yes.
this was media
Portraying
was
it.
portraying it as something that someone could willingly choose to step in and step out of. But we know that it's not true.
There's so many factors why the ladies go that route.
Correct. I mean, one of the factors is the very brutal one. And when I was working with Pastor Edel Naidu on his show, I was the sound engineer. So that meant that I would lapel the guests and have privy to their most quiet whisperings, mutterings, really, and their prayers.
Mm.
So we would lapel these women, and one of the most humbling things, and truly, truly, was the start of what can I do, dear Lord, was the prayers that these women muttered under their breath. Every single time we had someone on, they would pray. This is one of the victims, one of the survivors of human trafficking. They would mutter a almost silent prayer that the Spirit of God enter them and be their voice, use the air in their lungs to tell their story, and not for the sake of just telling the story, but for the sharing and hopefully finding the correct ears to say that there is hope out there. There's more than hope. There is a healing hand. There is all of what we need for salvation. God has.
There is another way out.
There
And there
is.
is, if you make the right choices. But, you know, I hear what you're saying, and it's so touching. And it's, you know, I myself have worked in this field for a very long time, currently busy with a case right now. But at the end of the day, what is society's take on that? You know, where is the support and the acceptance from somebody coming off the street back into society? That is
It is-
another story.
It is such a. I have worked with a few, or I'm thinking of Meerkat, Stop Human Trafficking, and of course A21 campaign.
That's correct.
We need much more.
Much more. And we got
Many
Free to
more
Fly
too.
as well with Salome.
Correct.
Yes,
Yes. And so there are these programs that are shaped into not only rescuing, but nurturing and then growing back all of what has been lost or what has been tainted in this very sad alternative to a profession. For me, the biggest challenge is I'm a man. How could I possibly identify with the trauma and all of that real, very real physical, psychological abuse? I can only view it as an outsider to something that is mainly, your victim is mainly female.
Yes.
But what I could identify with was their anguish, their brokenness, and then healing. I felt outside of the circle because as a man, I can't physically go and approach and be part of that.
Process of healing.
But then something else came to mind. You know, there are three, we're all sinners. The three sinners in human trafficking is not the prostitute. It is not the trafficker alone. It is also the person taking advantage
demand.
of the demand. So the slogan is, for me, is no demand, no supply. There's no need.
Exactly.
So there is a third victim. The victim who I really, really just want to shake and shake and shake until, you know, sense prevails. But what is it in generally men that
Drives them there.
it drives them to pay for something the most sacred, the most beautiful, the most, to distort and corrupt?
And perverse it.
What is that sadness in them? What is that brokenness in
Where's
them?
their brokenness and where are
Yes.
their wounds?
Yes.
So I'm going to end on this because we need to continue with this conversation, because I really feel that is something I would like to revisit in our next session, because this is so important that we actually come against that nature where the brokenness, that it's a chain of brokenness that doesn't perpetuates from the user to the middleman, that actually takes the opportunity until the real victim at the end of the day. So we're going to just go play out with Brian Torwalt and Katie Torwalt, Nothing Holding Me Back. So enjoy this with us, and we'll be shortly back with Henry. Thank you so much for sharing your touching your heart on this topic. It's really, really beautiful to hear from a man to a woman about what actually is transpiring out there. So we're going to listen to Brian Torwalt, Nothing Holding Me Back. We'll be back with you straight after this.
Lives are constantly bombarded with information. But how much of this information truly brings spiritual growth or encouragement? Cape Pulpit is a Christian radio station with a calling to spiritually equip you for the day of tomorrow, offering more than just sermons and testimonies. We explore the Word together, discuss current affairs, and focus on strengthening families. Tune in now across the Western Cape on 729 AM. That's AM or MW, not FM. Alternatively, visit our website or download our app to listen wherever you are. Cape Pulpit 729 AM, your daily companion.
Rise with Renette Myberg, finding God's truth for the way forward together.
Good afternoon, family and friends, and thank you so much for staying with us. And please go on our WhatsApp line. We have our WhatsApp line is 081 729 1657. Our Telegram number is the same, 081 729 1657. And our SMS line is 37988. And we are currently now on Facebook. So please go and look at our activities. You can see who our guests are. You can see who we are and get to know us a little bit better. And please interact. We really are getting really out there, and we're going to so many things are happening at the radio station. So please keep connection with us. We have got awesome guests awesome presenters, and then you see who you're listening to. We also have a counseling department. It's 021 9177 option 1. And I really want to encourage you to contact us and see how we can direct you and how we can possibly pray for you. But please use us. We are there to help you. This afternoon, I've really got a wonderful guest in the studio, film producer Henry James Fisher, and he has produced a beautiful movie called Phoenix River, but a very, very touching, painful journey of exposing human trafficking in South Africa. And we really want to encourage those that have got an opportunity, but he will share at the end of the program where you can go and watch and where you can go and view this movie, and also download it. Hey, there's an option to download it. So Henry, I know that this movie came with a cost and a quest, as we were sharing earlier on, of your painful journey, but such a quest to actually fulfill it. You did a lot of the producing, but this is what happens when you've been called to do something. And so I just want you to share your quest, of what it cost you financially, emotionally, on to actually fulfill this task that the Lord gave you.
Thank you. Yes, I love the word quest because in the end, it was a journey. I envisioned the making of the movie as a mountain. And so my prayer to God was that He keep His graceful hand on me, that He guide me. And then I prayed to my Savior Jesus Christ to walk ahead of me on this path and roll away the boulders that were irrelevant and leave the boulders, as big as some of them proved to be,
Yes.
for me to negotiate, always with the intention and the realization that this was going to be a very humbling journey.
Yes.
That
yes.
the only way was on knees and hands upheld to God for direction. So in many ways, I planned and plotted and strategized, but all of this meant nothing because every challenge that came my way, the only true answer came through submitting once more to God's plan.
Yes.
This mountain as such was...
What did that look like?
Well, it defined itself as I went along. So the first thing was, how, and this was the prayer, how could I contribute? How could I make people aware of this sadness, this horror, this nightmare that these people were living every day of their life? And it came to me, I suppose, I'm an arty person. I'm going to say that right now.
Yes.
I would doodle at any given point. So when I thought, what about a movie? It was already in my mind. The name Phoenix Risen had somehow been placed there already. It was not a big step for me to use all of my thoughts and my interpretation and all of the messages and just the listening to the journeys of all of these survivors for me to get the base of a story. But once again, as a man, you can't really tell that story, so I had to create a secondary lead.
Okay.
And this was a detective struggling with the frustrations of trying to bring this human trafficking to an end in Cape Town. His entire career had been based on trying to solve cases. And these pimps as such, they throw millions of rand at the courts and walk away laughing. The women, the victims, are terrified and terrorized into silence.
Yes.
And of course, the instigator is never ever held responsible. This is the one who seeks out these women.
Yes, the perpetrator and the one that demands it.
Correct. So how do I make a movie out of air? I have sewing skills, so some of the outfits, the heroine outfit I sewed, myself designed. The film itself was going to be based in Cape Town, and so I reached out to actors. But one actor, I was finally able to get one actor to act, and another incredible friend of mine, an actor, who wrote some of the music for the movie. I searched high and low, and this is how God grew me. The most terrifying thing is for me to be on a show like this, to public speak, to be in front. I love behind camera
I
work.
know. We've
So-
known you for years behind the camera.
Correct. And yeah, I was slowly being nudged into, because I couldn't find that character, I had to play the character myself.
Oh, my
I,
goodness.
it's a matter of you said
Being
it.
stretched.
You said it, now you have to do it, and that's exactly what it was, the stretching
Yes.
against my will. But I knew that I'd surrendered to God to use me, and I was excited about being used, but terrified of being.
At the same time. It's very
Correct.
daunting.
Yes. My brother was one of the cameramen, and I remember in the scene that I was in, he said to me, Hendrik, stop that. And I said, what? And he said, every time I turn the camera on you, you start acting, and then you act right off the set. Or you turn around van skamheid.
Yes, yes, yes. So ashamed.
But there were, I wouldn't call them sacrifices. The desire in me was so great at some stage that
you would say you were prepared to take what comes with
whatever
it.
needed to be done. So 3.5 years into production, I did the math and I realized that I did not have enough finances to finish this movie if I stayed in my flat. So I terminated the lease, loaded my combi, and then resigned myself to, I'm going to be living in this vehicle, which I did for a bit. But God
Undertook again.
had a whole team behind me without me knowing. I just had to take the steps one at a time, and He would be ahead of me. And so an incredible friend of mine offered her space for a period. I lived in a tent,
Yes.
and I edited in a tent. And then when the rains became too much, several friends offered me their couch. And I must tell you, I'm not the tallest guy, but every single couch seemed to be a few centimeters too short. It was just too impossible to stretch out on. But it was about stretching. It was about surrendering to His plan.
fully surrendered to be used.
None of what I wrote and envisioned the movie
To
as
look
being
like.
ended up. Yes, nothing. It was completely rewritten as I progressed. I'd have an actor play a role, and I'd write the script for him, and he would pull out. I'd find another individual, and I had to learn that person's character, so that, because these weren't actors. So I had to find what is natural in that person, complement that by writing a new script for them.
Yes.
And the challenges were great.
I can imagine. I can imagine. But you know, it is such the dedication and the commitment brought you to this place now where you've actually got a completed production. And I must say, I can only say I'm very proud of you, because nobody would actually pull through, especially, you know, we like to be comfortable and in our comfort zone and have all our ducks in a row to complete something. But are we prepared? Family and friends out there, are we prepared to go that extra mile when God has said, I'm taking you on another journey of real, fully trusting and believing in? And that is why I really want to encourage you. We're going to, this time just went so quickly, and it is so power-packed. So please stay with us, and we can hear a little bit more about the movie, maybe discuss a scene of it, and then we will, just give you an idea of how you can watch it. And I really feel that we need to get the scales off our eyes out there and really see what is the truth behind the scenes that we aren't always exposed to. But we see it on TV, we hear it, but it's actually happening right here with us under our own noses. So it's a very touching topic. And so I just want us to listen to our lovely next song. I love Don Moon, and it says, Still, Be Still, My Soul. So enjoy this, and we'll be back with Henry James Fisher straight after this.
Radio Cape Pulpit 729 AM with Renette Myberg. Finding God.
got a wonderful. Oh, I'm so grateful that we have Henry James Fisher. Is a film producer of River Phoenix.
It's risen.
Phoenix Risen. It's all about human trafficking, the real deal that's actually happening in South Africa, and we have no clue. So he's going to share a little bit about the movie, because I think it's, the scenes, and he's going to tell us how we can access it, the movie. I think it's something that we need to open our eyes and get the scales of our and start seeing what really is happening in the world. I also just want us to be reminded of our prayers for Israel, and we know that we need to really, pray for our brothers and sisters of both sides that are really struggling with, their fears and their struggles in Israel. And we just pray for the peace of Israel, and that the Lord will just protect the vulnerable, the innocent, the children, the women. And we just ask the Lord, yes, Lord, just do it again. You have done this before. You've looked after Israel all these years. So I just want us just to really just keep our eyes focused on Abba Father, and ask Him how to pray, and not to live in fear, but with faith that He has Israel in His perfect hands, and they are His chosen nation. So, Lord, we just thank you. We just thank you that we put your protective and caring hand over the land, and we know that we are living in the times that are now nearing the factor that you are the one that is going to win the battles for us. So, Henry, thank you so much. And this is another battle that we just listened to now, where be still and know who I am. So that is where we can find our healing. And this is a topic that really needs a lot. It's a battle of its own in the perverse wicked world that we live in. So, Henry, just give us a little bit of a scene of your movie. How do we access it? How can we go and watch it? I know that you're having a launch date, so just give us a little bit of what you've been doing.
Well, Phoenix Risen is a collective effort. Every single individual that you'll see in the movie has brought their own energy. I wrote the script, I wrote the dialogue, and it just didn't work on non-actors, shall I say.
Yes.
I had people, my mum's in the movie, my friends are in, my sister, my brothers, strangers.
But doesn't that make it real?
Everybody took their piece and made it something really incredible that I could not have orchestrated. Some of the acting is so. I remember a friend of mine doing her bit, and her best friend viewing it saying, "But you can't be that open about yourself." And she says, "No, I'm acting. I'm actually acting." And to hear them say that was affirmation. So, because I couldn't tell it from the victim's perspective or the survivor's perspective, I had to create this fumbling detective.
Yes.
So he narrates, he travels, he takes you through the movie in his quest to find out who a mysterious. So there's a character out there sorting out all these villains the way sometimes we wish we could just take a hammer to them. The human response is just to yes. And someone is doing that, and he can't figure out who it is. At first he thinks it's fellow or competitive mobsters, other villains taking each other out, and this happens in the real world, of course. But he can't seem to find that. And slowly, with the audience, he figures out who it is, and the story unfolds. In addition, because it's a no-budget to low-budget movie, it's quite unorthodox in the sense that it cuts away to different genres. There's a strong documentary feeling at times.
Yes.
The characters kind of define themselves. As I was saying, you would write the script, and you would interact with the individual that was going to portray it, and suddenly all of these other facets would come to the fore. So it was a change and make and rock and roll on as you proceed.
Yes, major adjustments.
Yes, it was, and it was pliable enough for me to, at the end, say, I think, because I had the date booked, I had to stop editing.
Yes,
So
don't overwork it.
I would still have been working on it now, and there's a thing that comes, that happens when you take your hands off something. That's surrender, and I had to believe that even though it is a low budget, no budget movie. It is with the richness of the intention and the submission to God to use me to tell a very, very vital story. I am the vessel.
Yes.
I would love to think that. I do believe that myself. It has been painful for me enough to realize that this is a birthing of a truth, a birthing of me, and also an awareness.
Yes. Very important. And, I really feel that, who was your funder? Was Abba Father,
It
who
was
owns
only through God's grace.
1,000 cattle on the hills. And
Correct.
that, I think, is so more unique than having a production and funders and people
Correct.
coming in with their fleshly hold on it. You actually had only God's permission to do it. And He gave you the finances and the tenacity and the wisdom and the knowledge. This is where we so forget who runs this universe.
Correct.
And He runs everything that He's given to us to do. And this is why I'm so encouraged by what you've done. And I want us to feel, sometimes we think, we have to have all our ducks in a row. We have to think, we've got to have A, B, C, D. No, He is plan A. We don't need a plan B and we don't need a plan C.
Amen
He
to that.
is the plan A. So we need to learn, family and friends out there, when the God has called us to do things. I've done that myself in the recent couple of months, of stepping out into full-time ministry. And you have no idea how daunting it is, eh? So you know what I'm speaking about. And this is really trusting the Lord for the way forward. So I just want to encourage you. So just tell us now, we've got 1 or 2 minutes left. Just tell us, how do we go and watch this movie? And where do we go? And and your launch dates and where you're hosting it and all that.
Well, phoenixrisen.co.za is where you can go to download the movie. There are also 2 trailers there that I produced on YouTube. So the first, when I decided to make the movie, when I felt I needed to, I started to vlog about it.
Yes.
So there are about 9 vlogs over the past 5 years. You can find me on YouTube.
Yes.
If you go into the site phoenixrisen.co.za, all of the icons are there for you to view,
Yes, it's
to read a little bit,
incredible
and also,
visual.
thank you, to download the movie.
Yes.
So that's the only way of me distributing or getting the story out there at this stage. But I do believe that everything is possible now, and
Amen.
that I have God on my side.
Amen. And then you've got this opening that just, the launching of it, that date?
Yes, that's the 29th of this month at a restaurant called the Mesopotamia in Small Market Square, I think it is, in Cape Town.
Yes, yes.
From 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It seats 40 people. But I'm sure if 400 came, we could make some kind of a plan.
Oh, excuse me that I'm sounding like this, but I've really got a bit of flu, but I had to laugh at that one. But I'm sure there's going to be such an opportunity just to go and see it. But download this movie. Please do. And support Henry and go and get some a revelation of what actually is happening on ground level right under our noses here in South Africa. So Henry, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. May the Lord just bless you, provide for you, protect you, and give you more vision for new topics that need to be addressed in this country, of other things that possibly need to be exposed and discussed and addressed and shown, because I think we live a lot with our blinkers on. So family and friends out there, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Henry. It was a great privilege to have you in the studio with us.
Thank you so much, Sonia.
Okay, family and friends, we'll see you next week. Be safe, take care, look after yourself, and stick to the rules. And we will see you same time next week. We've got an amazing guest for next week. It's powerful. His name is Percy Noah. He's an evangelist, powerful, and a missionary of note. So please join us next week, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Ian McCormick. Some people know me as the Jellyfish Man, and I'd love to just endorse the ministry of radio, Cape Pulpit, 7 to 9 a.m. And Lord bless you folks for all that you do in proclaiming the love of Christ and that He is risen. He is no longer dead. I pray that eternal opening in the heaven realm just open up the glory of God to your hearts. So Lord bless you, and may His presence go with you.